Alright, I am going to show you a video on number 5. Now, before I do that, I want to point out something in number 4. I'm going to have you go back and do number 4 after we watch this video. But if you do number 4, when you originally write it out, this is 2x to the third minus 2x minus 4 divided by x minus 1. When you write it out, we know our divisor is x minus 1. That's what I'm dividing by, so that goes on the outside. When you write this out, what you need to make sure you do is 2x to the third. See how it skips from a third down to an x? It skips an x squared. We need to make sure we write 0x squared there. It's just a placeholder. You need to make sure you have it so when you multiply, your numbers stay lined up. And then minus 2x and then minus 4. The same way I just said that, you're going to see in this video, when I write this out, it's a squared plus a minus 1. We're dividing a to the fourth. Now I'm skipping from a fourth to a squared, so I'm going to put a 0a to the third there. Minus 3a squared, because we need a placeholder, like I said. And then we also skip just an a term, so I'm going to put a 0a there, and then plus 1. Now this is going to be quite a few steps. We're going to try to stay organized as much as we can. Try to keep everything lined up. First thing I need to do, I need this thing. I need to get to an a to the fourth. So if I multiply my whole divisor by an a squared, that's going to give me each term we multiply by a squared. So a squared times a squared is a to the fourth. A times a squared is a to the third. And negative 1 times a squared is negative a squared. Now remember that placeholder was there so we could keep our exponents lined up, and we did just that. So we should be in good shape. I'm going to get rid of that. Put my a back there. Sorry about that. Alright, and now I said we're going to subtract. No one likes subtracting. How many times am I going to say that in these videos? So we're going to add the opposite. So I'm just going to change my signs in each thing. This becomes a minus. This becomes a minus. Now this becomes a plus. And let's start combining. A to the fourth minus a to the fourth cancels out. A to the, I'm going to use blue for that. 0a to the third, which is nothing, minus a to the third is negative a to the third. Negative 3a squared plus a squared is negative 2a squared. And then I'm going to bring down my next term, my 0a, which is my placeholder. And now let's think. I need my divisor to become a negative a to the third. So I'm going to multiply by negative a this time. That's going to give me negative a to the third when I do the x squared. And then we're going to multiply just the a by it. And negative a times a is negative a squared. And then negative 1 times a is a positive a, because the negatives cancel out for you. And now when we start combining, I'll say it again. We're going to, instead of subtracting, we're going to add the opposite. So change all your signs here. That becomes that. Now it's easier for us to combine. Let's switch to a green color here. These cancel. Negative 2a squared plus a squared is negative a squared. 0 plus negative a. This is just a minus a. And then we did everything. So let's bring our next term down. 1. Now, if you look at our two things that are left, I need my a squared plus a minus 1, my divisor, to become a negative a squared. All I need to do here is multiply by a negative 1. And that gives me negative a squared minus a plus 1. If you look at those two things, they are the exact same. We're going to, instead of subtracting, add the opposite. Plus, that becomes a minus. And check out what happens here. Negative a squared plus a squared cancels out. Negative a plus a cancels out. 1 minus 1 cancels out. You have nothing left, which means it goes in evenly. So, such as not having a remainder, kind of like 6 divided by 3 is 2. There is no remainder. So when you divided, that means that this thing right here that we started with, our divisor, is a factor of what we divided. So my final answer for this is a squared minus a minus 1. That comes from right here. Good luck, guys. Check your answers as you go. make sure you put your placeholder. So when you end up doing this thing right here, you're going to think of that as an m to the third plus 0m squared plus 0m minus 1. And then we'll divide that whole thing by m minus 1, and you'll do it the same way as we just did. Check your answers, check your answers.